What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Listen, you already know we're gonna walk lightly here. We're gonna tread lightly. Kanye West saying some very attention-seeking things because that's what he does. He seeks attention. He's a musician. He's an artist, among other things. Now listen, what he's saying isn't wrong. What he's saying isn't wrong. He's free to speak. He's free to say whatever. The problem is people don't understand what he's doing. He's creating his own reality. Now, love it or like it, that's what he's doing. What's a way that you can create your reality? Now, I'm going to have a picture. It's not up, but it'll be the thumbnail in a little bit of Donald Trump's mom's hair in the 1990s. This shit was cray-cray. This thing was out of control. And what it showed me is some people are so wealthy that no one around them has the balls or the integrity to say something against what they are saying because they've insulated themselves in their reality and what they think is okay. Now, I worked for a boss she was a multimillionaire. She had one ideal and it made her, I think, the course of her career, the past 12 years while we were in Iraq war, maybe $54 million. I think she's down to $5 million now. But she's a prime example of someone I remember creating their own reality. Like, she moved herself out in the middle of Texas, even though at one of the conferences and through all this military contracting, like, she created her own reality. I mean, you would have conversation with her and be like, what? What are you talking about? Kind of thing. And this is the same with Kanye West. Now, Kanye, there's studies that show people have an ideal. And if you confront them with truth, they'll back away. They don't like that, right? And it's not just conservatives or Republicans. It's just people will reinforce their thought pattern, and they'll go look for things that reinforce their thought pattern. Now, let me give you. You're like, before I lose you, if you believe that blacks are violent and dangerous, you will watch the news all day, and it'll keep supporting this narrative. If you believe business owners have no life and they're always busy, somehow you'll find your way to every news article about some business person being exhausted, tired, getting a divorce, whatever. You will find material that matches that narrative mindset. It's been proven over and over. They had 100 or I think it was 200 people in a room and they kept showing them what they thought was untrue. And that person just left and was even more diehard concrete into believing the lie. Right? Because we're seeing, you ever heard those saying, you see what you want to see, you hear what you want to hear? That's literally true for humans. It's a survival instinct, but it is also it is something we do. It's something we do strongly in America. I think the school system is built for like the slowest student. So a lot of really smart kids are bored or want to get out of there or causing distraction. And we don't have enough time in our school system, the way it's set up, to individually teach the kids' interests, to get kids to read lots of books, to get people to comprehend. Actually, in America right now, the reading comprehension is on an 8th grade level. That's why when they say things, when you see this, and this was a thing they had come out in Detroit, 77% of people in Detroit are like illiterate. But it doesn't mean they cannot read. It means they cannot comprehend. It's like you got to get into the data, right? And back on creating your own reality, the reason people create their own reality is they are reinforcing ideals they have been taught. That a job is the only way. Now, many people say, well, Erica, this one guy said one comment. Black people always want to buy a bunch of cars and stunt on clothes. But there's also poor white people who do the same thing. I have a friend who said as soon as he got out of college, every guy made fun of him because he wouldn't go buy a boat or a camper or a big old truck. And he was like, yeah, this is a great job, but I can't afford all that. But that was the culture. The culture was to do something that was not necessarily smart, right? That was their reality. Their reality was trucking, buying campers, going camping on the weekends, getting a boat, and, that was the life. So again, people will reinforce their ideals. They'll go find more material. And here's the sad part. We have a lot of people saying, well, black people aren't a monolith. Don't listen to, Kanye West is speaking, if you on one hand say black people are not a monolith, not just a group, it doesn't matter what Kanye says. He's just a person. He's just an American. But because they do see black people as a monolith, well, Kanye West said it. Kanye West doesn't speak for all black people. Kanye West doesn't speak for anybody. He just speaks for Kanye West. And what's the sad part is the Kardashians have created a life, and to some degree, that they're very isolated. They only date musicians or basketball players or people in similar grouping settings as them, which narrows some of your choices, I would say. And two, it kind of keeps them in this kind of pigeonholed kind of living, right? Where they're not interacting with everyday people. They're not interacting with people we would consider poor. They're not interacting with people outside of their social status. And when I talk about classism and things like that nature, when people really are telling me, like, I've never met a wealthy black person, that tells me where they live. That tells me where they are. That tells me who they are. I'm sorry. It really does, because there's too many groups of people, to be careful. There's too many groups of people who are very wealthy in different races and different segments. And if you haven't been associated with those people or seen those people, that tells me right there where you live and who you are. It just does. And so there's funny things about this that I think are sad, but also great. You could literally start today and just build your own economy, build your own reality. When I hear people say, well, I can never see this thing out in public, I never see that out in public, that's because they've separated themselves from where you are in society. When somebody says, so football players, I'll give an example. My friend was in Phoenix, Arizona. Was it Phoenix, Arizona? No, it was, she was out there in, Arizona. She was out there in Arizona, but the football team practices near this national park. They just do it once in a while. They do this hike up this ridge or something. And she saw them and she said, these are men who I would never see in regular everyday life. I just would never see them. And I almost want to say to her, exactly, because they don't go where you go. They don't do what you do. They've created a life outside of your sphere, of your level. I already told you guys on this channel, the average person will not drive 8 miles past their comfort zone, their circle. Now, what's their circle? Usually their home's in the middle, their job is somewhere close, and then within the circle. They go to the grocery store within that circle, they do things within that circle, and that's it. That's their circle. And my friend was like, well, that seems weird, but that's just human nature. You won't drive across town for something if it's close to you. Hence why when you open up a map, Google Maps, and you see multiple Starbucks and multiple grocery stores and multiple Walmarts, it's because human nature won't let them drive outside this 8-mile radius. And I think when you get to the level of Kanye West, you get to the level of Donald Trump, you've created a reality that is different. Even people who start businesses know. When you tell people you own a business, like I had a lady the other day go, oh, you must work from home. I go, no, I own my own business. Well, who do you work for? And I just looked at her and said, well, I have clients and I have services and I have products. And like my painting company services people. I mean, she's like, oh, you paint? I'm like, no, I don't paint. What do? I make sure the phone calls are taken. Well, you answer the phone calls, you take the money. I'm like, no, we have an office assistant for that. And it just was like, you could just tell her mind was just breaking as I'm telling her this. Her mind was exploding because she couldn't comprehend like what I was saying, even though I'm talking right to her. You could tell I was losing her, right, in the conversation. And that's truly what being a business owner is. That's what being an artist is. That's what being outside of the norm is. If you do anything outside of the norm, people really have a hard time comprehending that. That's why it's easy for me to tell people I'm an author. It's easy for me to tell people about the painting company and not the YouTube channel. I've even gone on dates and not told people about the YouTube channel, right? Because at the end of the day, that person, that may not be their reality. They do not understand what I'm trying to say to them. They don't understand, well, how do you do this? I even have a friend who, and I'm saying loosely, but they don't understand how I make money. And I literally sat down and showed them my business plan, showed them all the different streams of income. This is where it comes in, this is where it goes, this is what I'm doing. And honestly, it wasn't until I started buying new things that some of my friends were like, oh, cool, you're doing well. You got like a new car, new phone, new clothes. And you're like, but I've been doing well for years now. like the tide has turned. Like my company's on an upswing. But that's what Americans and people associated with doing good is things and clothes and cars and phones. And that to them shows you're doing well. Status symbols, because that's their reality. Why would a person doing well drive an old car? Why would a person doing well do this? And I told you guys, when I drove for Papa John's for a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half, but there was a split. There were 2 Papa John's, and they had to share an area. So we both got half the rich area and half the poor area, which was interesting. And I would go to these apartments that were literally run down pieces of shit. And the apartments had BMWs, Mercedes. This one had like an old, loud Maserati that was old. They bought it from an auction or something. Audis, you name it, was there. And I'm like, who is in these rundown, shitty negative C apartments with the stairwells creaking and wood stairwells like they're about to fall apart? This place is a fire hazard, but they're there because that's their financial spot in life. But the car is just in the front, right? And then I would go to the side where the houses are $1 million, $2 million, $750,000 in the Arboretum, and there'd be out front. I've told you guys this a million times: Hondas, Toyotas, Camrys, and I'm not talking about new ones. I'm talking about 1999, 2000, and 2001. Cars that are over 15 years old. And what's funny about that, because the number 1, number 2, number 3 car in Austin, Texas is the 1999 Honda, Toyota Camry, and that other Honda Accord. I forgot the name. I think it's one's Accord and one's a Civic. And it just shows you creating a reality. Looking rich and actually being rich, right? Actually having resources, actually having money, actually having a home. If something happens and you're in that little crappy apartment, what do you have to refinance? Just their car. Where are they going to get money from? A title loan? Where are they going to get money from? Credit cards? But that person with that house, even if they have that house and they may have a lot of other debt, there's probably 7 layers or so that they can sell things, liquidate things to get from under a crunch, a recession. And that's the difference. That's really creating your reality. Is when you have freedom to make different choices. And what's unique, and I know I'm saying a lot of ums, but this one was just off the cuff. I was just watching some recordings about Kanye, and I was like, listen, you got to realize when you're talking to somebody who creates their own reality, they're making music, they're interacting with people, and they're making their own reality. There's something about being an artist and being a creator. You're already going to be in like the 10% of society doing a craft well. There's a lot of kids who played music in school. I'm talking about doing a craft well. And in business ownership, many people act like, oh, everybody's a business owner, when really it's less than like 10%. It's always been like 10-ish%. Even at the height of, the 1800s, the gold rush, the farming, you still had about 10 to 15%. You just did. So I'm encouraging you to immerse yourself in your reality of your choice. Since Kanye can do it, you can do it. Now, what do I mean? If you have a business ideal, if you have some kind of business that you want to market for the next 30, 45 days, spend ads on, increase and grow, you will see the results. Many people, what happens is they do this for 30 days to 6 months, MLMs and all this direct selling stuff. They'll do it for 6 months and then they quit. The people that I see do it for like 5 years, 6 years, speaking on stages, consistency, like it's a whole nother level for them. Right? The people who got on the early train of like creating a personal brand and having books and selling things and speaking on stages, the money they're making is cray. Like Beyonce, prime example, this guy said, oh, I saw Beyonce's show and it was horrible. And I just laughed because I said, you really think Beyonce's show was horrible? And this was a white guy. Yes, it was. And he just didn't get it. And I said, well, that's the point. It wasn't for you. It wasn't for your tribe. It wasn't for your group. It wasn't a part of your reality. I said, as a person who appreciates band music, and if you ever played in band in high school, not me, but several people I know, they love that performance because it was an example of, one, building a tribe, feeding a tribe, and selling to the tribe. Now, Beyonce tickets are like $1,500, something crazy. And a lot of that merch is already sold out. So you got ladies all over the nation already selling out, buying the merch, buying the tickets. So let's just do an easy number. Let's say 100,000 people. Now, let's be honest. 1 million people go to her show this year, right? Let's say she do a world tour. 1 million people go. If 1 million people, we're just giving a random number. If 1 million people spend just $100 with her. Let's just be honest, just a small number. We'll just do it for example. $100 with her, that's $100 million. That's $100 million. Let's even take it down smaller. I mean, you can do the numbers for yourself. I don't have my calculator with me, but you guys do this for yourself. You could have a tribe. That's why they call that the long tail theory about 1,000 true fans. Even if you just had 1,000 people and every year you sold a $25 CD and your fans supported you in a $25 t-shirt, you could have 50,000 a year off of a small group of people. And that's creating your reality. And I'm gonna read some of this a little bit, and then I gotta go. I gotta grab lunch. So, Universal Jones, Erica dropping that truth. Thank you. Jamaica, creating your own reality is one thing, but most of us can take a lesson, and changing our perspective can solve a lot of problems. Yeah, I mean that's the part of in the beginning when I was talking about Donald Trump's mom. Her hair was in a way that was crazy, but in the short story of it, many people stick to a hairstyle or clothes that they wore at the peak of happiness. And so you'll see military dudes who were retired 20 years ago still wearing their short buzz haircut, still wearing certain type of clothes. You'll see retired police officers wear certain type of clothes. You'll see a lot of people still in a mindset from their happy times. And Kanye West is one of those. And I'm going to say this, and I'm trying to be offensive. You'll see white men wear clothes and cut off sleeves when their arms are fat and they're old. Something a 20-year-old them would have done. But they're still doing it. You'll see black guys sagging pants and wearing clothes that are for like 20-year-olds. And they almost 50. You're like, what are you doing? Stop. But that's their reality. I'm still looking good. I'm still looking good in these clothes. And it's like, no, stop that. That's why you see those makeover reality shows where they have to make over the person's clothes because they're in this denial state. So, Heather LaBash, you're so right, Eric. Thank you. I also know top performers have an easier time of letting go of relationships with people who are negative because they have a bigger vision for themselves. Yes, you have to know where you're trying to go and who to include. Like when I told some of my friends, and I know some of them are going to get out of the equation, and that's just life because I'm a military kid, so I'm a little more used to it. As you grow and you really get honed in on where you're going, some of these people can't go with you. This one guy said, well, my friends get married, it's like they disappear because they're building a vision together. It's no longer what all their friends are doing. It's what these two people in this group, this union, are doing. And there's ways to go about that. Yeah. Cherish Adventure, you're right. Bishop Blueprint. She couldn't understand you are a business owner and that she said was closed-minded. I'll save it for later tonight. I'll do another video. But basically, I was on an airplane and I told this guy I was a business owner of a painting company. And he was like, oh, I used to paint when I was younger, but then I got a real job and I got 5 kids. And I said, well, my painting company made $150,000. He just looked like he was about to be sick to his stomach. He was like, well, what are you doing? Who do you do? How do you do this? How do you do it? Like he asked me 35 minutes on a plane ride. That was only an hour. Questions about my painting company. And you know what it was? Because he was so quick to dismiss, oh, I did that when I was young for pennies on the dollar. Probably did it as a summer job or just painted a few friends' houses. He couldn't understand how our company had made so much money. And probably because I was a woman, he probably couldn't understand it. But again, I digress. I'm gonna run and get lunch. Create your reality. Don't let people create it for you. It's all about perspective. All right, you guys, have an awesome day.